the big questions. Who am I? What am I doing here? What is the purpose of life? What's the point of it all? Why on earth are we here? I'm Ségolène King, and this is the Common Sense Mystic. I started asking myself the big questions when I was 14. Like many teenagers, I was wondering about my future. Who would I be? What would I do? Where would I live? How would I live? Quickly, however, my questioning started to turn more existential, deeper. Why do we do what we do? Why do we choose the lives that we choose? What are we achieving? What is the meaning of it? Does any of it mean anything? By the time I was 15, this questioning began to cause quite a bit of despair and despondency in me. I looked around in the world, the people I knew, the society I lived in, and I didn't get the answers I was looking for. So many people seem to just go through the motions of life, just to keep the wheels turning, to keep the bills paid, and God knows that's important. I come myself from a family that didn't have a lot of money. I understand that it's important to be able to provide for yourself, but just living to survive, living to keep the wheels turning or to look forward to your next weekend or to your next holiday and nothing much beyond that, that wasn't enough for me. There was something missing in that picture. And so I came to this kind of big crossroad moment. It was a night in winter when I was 15, and the first snow of winter was falling. And I really was faced with that decision. I could either go unconscious, go asleep, and just go with the motions, live in this kind of small, unfulfilled way that really didn't answer what I was looking for, or I could give up altogether, give up on life, and I did consider all that. Or I could choose life. I could choose to stay and to look up and to make my life something worth living. I could find the answers that I was looking for. The answers might not be right there, presented to me on a silver platter, so I had to go look for them. I had to go hunt for them, and if I couldn't find them, I would create them. I'd find a way, because that would make life worth living. And so I did. I started this journey of looking for purpose, looking for meaning, looking for the why of it all. And of course, that was 30 years ago now. And I've been searching for a long time, and I found quite a few answers, and I found my purpose, and I found my path. And so I want to share a few key points with you that apply not just to me, but to all of us. First of all, when I look back to my 15-year-old self, I understand now that what I was going through was a soul awakening. The part of me that was crying out for more, that's something more to life. There must be something more to life than just keeping the wheels turning and going through the motion and just surviving. That was my soul calling to me to remember that I was more than just this creature that just goes through the motion and survives. I was more than this. Therefore, my life needed to be more than this. Whatever I did, however my life was going to look, I had to find a path that would fulfill my soul calling and my soul purpose. I didn't fully understand it at the time, but it's very clear now that this was what was happening. And so I chose life, and I chose to look for my path. I chose to find purpose and meaning. And the journey began. First of all, it meant feeling a lot of feelings, because in order to follow this path of soul awakening and finding my soul path, I had to wake up to myself. And part of that was feeling a lot of feelings. Often that didn't make a lot of sense, to find catharsis for them. I used journaling and writing and music and pondering, spent a lot of time working on myself in order to kind of empty out these waves and waves of feelings that were coming up as I was reawakening to myself and that sense of remembering. And that's something that started to follow me over the years, that sense that I need to remember who I am in order to find where I'm supposed to be, because the two go hand in hand. I eventually left home, I studied, I traveled, I met people, and all through those years, sometimes making clever, good, wise choices, sometimes making stupid choices, I learned a lot of lessons, and I was still searching and I was still exploring. At the age of 20, I consciously committed to the spiritual path. After meeting different people, trying different things on, I read a book. It was a novel called The Mist of Avalon by Marion Dimmer Bradley. Even though it was just fiction, it reawakened something in me based on the tales of those ancient Celtic traditions. And that was my way into the path. That was me starting to feel like I was finding direction, and I was finding something beyond the mechanics of the wheels turning and the rat race. From then on, I continued to read, to study, to do classes, workshops, to meditate, to search. I trained in different modalities of healing and learned how energy works, and find some wonderful learning and wonderful wisdom within all these areas. But it still wasn't quite what I was looking for. At the age of 21, I underwent a profound spiritual awakening with visions and revelations and understandings about things like eternity and all sorts of wonderful things. And so I was on the way. I was on my journey. I was remembering myself as a soul, that I was so much more than just this embodiment, this body-mind. This identity that is Ségolène King and everything she is and the roles she plays was only a small part of what I was. This being that I was slowly remembering myself to be had its own memories and had its own knowing, things that Ségolène doesn't know, the soul knows, because the soul is larger than me. In space and time, it's larger energetically, but also it has a journey that transcends the boundaries of just this life. And I was slowly starting to remember this through applying myself to spiritual practices and disciplines, through soul searching and pondering and feeling, being open-minded. And over the years, through work and exploration, but also through discussing with other spiritual seekers, with teachers and mentors and friends, and through reading, I started to understand more of the bigger picture of who and what we are. We are human beings, and that's its own journey, but we are also souls. And a really useful metaphor for explaining what souls are and how they fit within the larger picture of creation is that of a tree. When we have a tree, you have the main part of the tree, the trunk. That's its roots, its trunk. It's the strongest part. That's where it draws its life. And it's solid and endures. Usually, if the tree stays alive, it endures for many years, season after season, year after year. The tree also has branches. So the trunk itself then separates and divides itself into some major branches. And each major branch then divides and splits itself into a number of smaller branches. And at the end of every twig is a leaf. We, as these body-minds, these little embodiments that only live for a matter of decades, we are the leaves on a tree. We, as human beings, as tangible, third-dimensional creature embodiments, we are just one small temporal part of a much larger, much more eternal being, a spiritual being. The branch that we grow off is our soul. It's part of our being, it's a unit of energy, and it's a part of the soul tree. And this soul that we are, just like a branch does, grows new leaves in spring. These leaves go through a life cycle. They go from little green shoots and grow into themselves through the summer, resplendent and full of life. And then in autumn, they start to slowly dry up and wither away and die and fall. As they fall, they go onto the ground and feed the soil and nourish the tree. That's the amazing cycle of life. Nothing is wasted, everything is recycled. And our lives follow similar seasons. We are born, little green shoots. We grow into ourselves. We have a wonderful summer of life where we go out there and live and experience all sorts of things. And then we start to slow down and we start to slowly just wither away and die, just like the leaves. When the leaf falls, it falls. It doesn't continue anymore. But in the next spring, that branch, our soul, will grow a new set of leaves. This will be our next round of incarnations. And that is the wonderful thing that I was starting to remember, is that we have this life, but we also, as souls, have many lives. And I will go more into details in the exploration of reincarnation in another video. But for now, it's just to understand that this embodiment is just one temporary day in the life of the soul. It's just one leaf in the life of the branch. These embodiments might be very ephemeral, very temporary, but the soul endures. And so the who I am question that I was trying so hard to answer was really this. I was trying to remember myself as a soul and beyond. Because just living as a human creature, just living for the survival of the human creature wasn't enough for me. And there's a good chance that if you're watching this video, it's not enough for you. If you're seeking, if you're searching, if you have those big questions, it is because you know on some level it might not be clear in your head. It might not be something you understand consciously and clearly, but there is something in you that knows and remembers that there is more to you than just being a body mind, than just being a creature. That more eternal part of you, the soul, has different needs to just what the human creature needs. In order to answer the question, why on earth are we here? What am I supposed to do with my life? What is the point of it all? You have to first answer the question, who am I? And if you are asking yourself the big question, then you are searching, and what is awakening in you is more than just your personality, your identity. There is the soul crying out to be remembered, to be recognized, and for its needs to be met. What does the soul want? The soul, as an aspect of a larger spiritual being, wants to love, wants to learn, wants to experience, wants to grow, wants to evolve, and to bring value to the tree, to the larger being that we're all a part of. And so as a soul, there will be this yearning to find what you love. Something that you love, it's not just a passing fancy, it's not just a passion that ignites and then fades away. It's something deeper and something more stable, something that comes from a place beyond just the bound of your mind, your emotions, or your physical body. It is more timeless and it's deeper. The soul in you wants to find what it loves, and it wants to express love in every way it can. It wants to follow the love of which it's made. The soul is a being of love. It seeks to experience love, to actualize love, to find new ways to love, better ways to love, things to love, people to love. The soul also wants to grow and to evolve, to learn. What the soul needs to learn depends on a whole lot of factors. What other experiences have you as a soul had in previous lives, in previous lives, in previous experiences? What are your weaknesses? What are your strengths? In order to evolve into the grander expression of the potential of all that you are as a soul and as a soul tree, because remember, we are all attached to that greater soul tree. What do you need to learn? What do you need to strengthen? What do you need to transcend in order to step into more of your greater potential expression, to be the best you can be, to be all that you can be? And so the soul wants to learn, wants to have experience in order to grow closer to its divine nature, closer to the greater potential of expression and knowing that it seeks to gain, to learn, to love, to evolve, because that is the point of everything in the end. And really, that is the short answer to this great question on why are we here and what is the point of it all. It's to evolve. But what does it mean to evolve? It means to explore all that you can be, all the potential qualities and energies that are within you, and then to find a way to be and embody this and express it in a way that takes us closer to the greater being that we're a part of. Because ultimately, evolution is about advancing the knowing of souls, of God. So us as little souls and the little leaves attached to the souls, our job is to contribute to that wonderful, grand, huge journey of exploration, of evolution, of learning that God, Source, the universe itself is undertaking. Creation is expanding all the time because creation is expanding its knowing and its exploration. The soul wants to do the same thing and wants to bring value to the soul tree by contributing through our choices, through our experiencing, to enriching the learning, the knowing, the wisdom, the experience, the light, the truth, and the grandness of the being of which we are a part. In the process, the soul that we are also becomes more radiant. Who am I? I am a little leaf embodiment that is the expression of a more eternal soul, which is in turn an expression of a grander being, a soul tree, which is itself an expression of God, of Source. What is our purpose? Why are we here? What is the point of life? The point of life is to play our part in contributing to the grand experiment and the grand self-exploration of Source, of the universe, through our own self-exploration, experiential learning, growth, and transcension of limitation, to expand into more of the divine potential that is available to us. That is the purpose of life. And really, this can be expressed in so many different ways. Every single leaf, every single life has a particular purpose that serves the learning, the evolution of the soul. Each life, there's certain things that the soul encourages us to experience, to learn, to feel, to choose, to create, to let go of, because this is what the soul needs in this life. So in this life, there is a task, a purpose for just this embodiment that is dictated by the needs of the soul that you are at this stage in its journey of learning, growth, evolution, and self-actualization. That is something you will feel in your heart, you will feel guided to. It'll be guided through the things that you love, the things that you know are your higher calling, perhaps, or your best self. You will feel intuitively the need to have certain experiences, to learn certain lessons, and that's part of what this life is about. In the process, the soul that we are evolves and learns through us. Sometimes you can learn the lessons that you need very quickly. That really is wonderful when you can, because then you can move fast to the next set of lessons. And these are the lives where the soul goes through so much growth and transformation and healing and self-actualization. You could say this is a good life because this embodiment has contributed value to the soul journey. And as the soul gains this learning, this growth, this wisdom, it can bring that to the tree. The tree then also guides each of its branches, each of its souls, to have the experiences that are necessary for the whole tree to grow into its greater potential. It's just this pattern that repeats in greater and greater scales. We are at the end, the tip of the branch as leaves. And then there's the soul, and then there's the soul tree, and then there's the soul forest, and then there is the universe. And we all have a part to play. We all can contribute through embracing the universal purpose of life to evolve into the greater potential version of all that we can be as an aspect of Source, as an aspect of this universe. There's no absolutely right or wrong ways to do this, but you need to start learning to work with your soul tree, to feel into the guidance that you are receiving. Instead of taking your cues from what other people want you to be and do, or what society imposes on you, you need to start listening to the voice of the soul. You need to start remembering that calling, that knowing within of being a soul, feeling into spiritual intuition, that sense of what you as a soul are called to be and are called to do. We are here on earth to evolve, but how that plays out for you right now as a body-mind in this life will be different for everyone. You can embrace the spiritual path, you may embrace religion, you may do it through artistic exploration and expression, through being a nurse or a teacher or a garbage worker. It just doesn't matter. As long as you are true to your calling, you are true to what you feel guided to be and do inside. That takes some practice. There are various practices that really help attuning and listening to the voice of the soul, the voice of spiritual guidance from your tree. Meditation, prayer is talking to God. Meditation is listening to God. And when we say listening to God, we mean listening to your soul tree, which is the closest aspect of God that is closest to you. And effecting psychological clearing out your own biases, expectations, fears, conquering your judgment. All of these things will help you to still the mind, to still the heart, and to be receptive, to be able to connect and receive and hear and listen. You can tell yourself all sorts of stories about what you think your calling is, and about what it should be, and all your theories about it, but it's not really for you to work out from the monkey mind. It's not something you can really think your way through. It's something that has to be received from the level of inspiration, from the level of a deeper knowing, something more timeless than this creature, this body-mind can come up with. If you want to continue the journey of exploring how we do that and how we live a spiritual life in an ordinary way, how we can do whatever it is that you feel called to do in our lives and use that as a way to evolve, to grow, to transform, to learn, and to fulfill the calling of the soul that you are, you as a soul, then keep watching. I will be putting out regular videos. You can hit subscribe. And in the meantime, I thank you all for watching, and I'll see you next time.